It's New Year's Day. Yesterday we saw a Twitter post which we're trying to confirm right now. And it's a post originally done on Reddit by FBI Anon talking about 7 shipping containers being tracked through Canada. According to the post, these containers are en route to the United States and the SEALs and SERT are tracking them. These containers are said to have weapons on board of massive power, and apparently ISIS is behind this shipment. We think that this report has been scrubbed by Reddit to deter people from finding out about this. This is what Dan Bongino was talking about earlier today when he was on Fox News, and he was talking about having trouble confirming information. He was actually talking about Iran, but in the situation we're in, it's the same exact thing. We're being blocked once we find out something because the information is either really explosive and could get people killed, or it's going to thwart the efforts of the deep state, who's colluding with mainstream media, Google, and social media. I'm not going to tell you where these are supposed to be headed for until we get this information confirmed. But I want to say that the event yesterday in Denver was about distracting us from something bigger, and this appears to be it. And also yesterday we had a post by Julian Assange, which you can see here. It is cryptic and had a key attached to a video. The video itself seemed to be making fun of the cabal if you look at the lyrics, and you can do that on your own when you find the video. That being said, we figured out Assange is in the United States under the protection of the Trump administration and is working with President Trump to bring down the deep state. We believe he has been given immunity and asylum and is cooperating fully to bring forth information that can literally save our country and the world from the New World Order for a while. Hours after we were discussing this, an Anon post said exactly the same thing. Assange was a major influencer in getting President Trump elected by revealing many truths about crooked Hillary and her campaign, and also Trader 44, which we already knew, but we're having trouble confirming, and everybody was telling us we weren't telling the truth, but we actually were. Assange just confirmed what we already know. The same drop coincides with a number of posts on Twitter by QAnon, another person who goes by B. Whether Anon and QAnon are the same, we can't confirm, but the intel seems to be good, as we can see that mainstream media is reporting the protests in Iran, while this post says it's no longer under the control of George Soros. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Soros, he's a Jew who turned on his own people and was the facilitator of many Jews being killed by the Nazis. He fled after the war to the U.S., and why he's not been prosecuted for any war crimes, I really don't know, but it appears his connections are about the same reason Crooked Hillary and Trader 44 are still on the loose. Now, these little hints were dropped on Twitter yesterday, and I'll just go through them really quick, and you can compare them to the Anon post and the events we're watching unfold. So let's take a look at these. The first one was this one. New Year's Eve hint 1. At least 30 congressmen will not be returning after their holiday break. I just want to go through these real fast. The second one. Julian Assange is safe. He's not where he appears to be. He is a key player in justice. Now, I find that very interesting, since Jeff Sessions seems to be really wanting to prosecute Julian Assange. Now, let's look at number 3. Iran is no longer in George Soros' control. Iran is one of 8 countries that will see a regime change in the near future. Very interesting there. We're seeing one happen right now in Iran. Now on 4, major, very recognizable globalist family squealing like pigs. We were thinking it was actually the Bushes, but apparently it's the Rothschilds, according to the post. And then look at number 5. It is some kind of a control room somewhere. And then number 6, the target picked up when Atlanta went dark is so much bigger than anyone can imagine. So I don't know who could be bigger than Hillary Clinton, but if it's someone bigger than we can imagine, it could be just about anybody. So let's take a look at these flights that are happening right now. As I'm posting this, there are several flights with the transponders off. No call signs, nothing. Leaving Florida, we believe headed for Gitmo. Again, and I'll wait to tell you who I think it is, but suffice it to say, we think it's the facilitator. I'm posting the link to the flight tracker below so you can keep an eye on it yourself. Now, these flights are flying at 40,000 feet, which is very unusual for any planes, in particular private jets. You can see in this picture the line which shows where the transponder is turned off. Right now, there are 3 planes in the air that we can see and are not showing these call signs. They're flying really high, especially when you think about the sort of distance of travel between Florida and Gitmo. Usually, they don't fly like this when it's such a short distance. Look at these. Here's the screenshots from the phone browser. What's odd about all this is the desktop drops the planes completely when the phone browser is showing them. It shows no call signs, but it's at least showing the plane, but not on the desktop. This is total manipulation, folks. All right, now if you're paying any attention, you can also see in these hints given by QAnon that there are between 30 and 50 congressmen, like I said, who won't be returning after this little break. I just said that when we were looking at those tweets that happened yesterday. I've had this confirmed on multiple levels from various sources who are well connected in the government, and I have a tendency to believe these sealed indictments are pushing these guys out of office. I hope this is the case. Not only is President Trump continuing to drain the swamp, his close circle is efficiently and swiftly changing the destruction Trader 44 tried to cause and almost got away with. Without Assange and people like him letting us see the truth about these people who are supposed to have our best interest in mind, it's possible the deep state would have gotten away with all these plans. Keep vigilant, people. Keep reporting and keep sending us the information. We try to verify all reports. We use sources we believe are the best we can get to ensure that you're getting the best information that you can to keep yourself and your family safe. As I said last time, President Trump is working diligently on our safety and bringing down this deep state. He considers this a high alert situation and knows they are behind this plan to bring down the United States and state a one world government. Thanks, everyone, and have a happy new year.
Thank you for listening to the April LaJune Show. To read more from her blog, go to aprillajune.com, where you can find more interesting and enlightening conservative commentary. Check out the archives and the video blog. Send links to your family and friends. Don't forget to catch her on YouTube and Facebook. Join us next time for another episode of the April LaJune Show.
And now, Alan.
Next year's news today with Dr. Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone. Right now, Trump is readying the counteroffensive to their attempt at civil emergency and martial law. It doesn't mean all this will be implemented, but it is definitely being prepared. And I've known that since before Trump even got elected, that they knew what was going to happen. And the criminals aren't going to give up. So the New York Times has gotten wind of this. That's why they said last week, it's Trump preparing a coup. But they're the ones trying to overthrow an election. They're the ones putting Homeland Security over, with Obama's executive order, over all the states. They're the ones preparing for that. So we have a duty to say no to this globalist takeover. Don't we, Roger? Don't we, Dr. Corsi?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Roger.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, no, I think absolutely. This is, I think you're exactly right. And I want to point out the article I wrote today on Assange and the case building for Assange. Trump's lawyers now in, by the way, Roger Stone's case was brought by this Project Democracy. Trump's lawyers have gone to the U.S. District Court in Washington and argued that Julian Assange had a right to publish all of those emails from the DNC, even if they were stolen. That's out of the New York Times v. Sullivan case. And
this is so huge. So if you're wondering what Trump really thinks about WikiLeaks, this is it.
This is it. In Roger Stone's case, last week, Trump sent his attorneys into the U.S. District Court to argue that Julian Assange had a right to publish those emails, even if they were stolen. And WikiLeaks also published yesterday definitively rebuking this Nara Tandine, who heads Podesta's Center for American Progress, that Russia was not involved. I mean, I think the case is building for a pardon for Assange, and we now have Trump's lawyers on the record as saying there was no crime committed.
And by the way,
Julian
not to
Assange.
toot horns, but you're the guy that actually got up at the White House, you and Roger, with the Arpaio stuff. Arpaio doesn't give me credit. It was the show. It's you guys. So, I mean, that's why they're so freaked out and really clamped down on the White House when we got the news to Trump. He didn't even know that this had happened to Arpaio.
Well, it was critical. I think it was a great team effort because I've been following the Arpaio case for years, and we were able to get a direct line into Trump to let him know that Sheriff Arpaio at age 85, 86 is being sent to prison on a criminal misdemeanor. It was completely an egregious misuse of law by the Obama Justice
Exactly. So
Department.
that said, we can announce here at the Telegraph that evidence is mounting that the president is now positioning for a Assange pardon, despite what Pompeo and others are pushing.
I think that the president's going to rebuke Pompeo and Sessions on this. I think that Assange is preparing to actually get out of asylum, coming out of the Ecuadorian embassy. I think this week we're going to find some announcements coming out from Assange. But the case is being built very strongly by Trump's own attorneys before the U.S. District Court that Assange did nothing wrong. And if he's done nothing wrong, then why shouldn't he be free not to worry about U.S. Legal apprehension or arrest? He should be a free man and free to get out of that embassy and go about his business.
Wow, that is just incredible. Roger Stone?
Yeah, it's very hard to understand the dichotomy of thought regarding Julian Assange inside the Trump administration. Donald Trump, during the campaign, praised him and said that he loved WikiLeaks. Yes, Julian Assange publishes classified information that has been purloined and sent to him. So does the New York Times. So does the Washington Post. So does the Associated Press. That's what journalists do. Why Pompeo and Tillerson and Sessions believe he's a criminal, they've never been able to verbalize. What law is it he has broken? Now the president's own lawyers are in federal court in the Roger Stone case, where I'm being sued over non-existent Russian hacking and bolstering our argument. So I'm hopeful that the president will do as Jerry says.
Hold on. We've got a great guest coming on for the full hour, but I'm sure he'll be happy to hold 5 minutes. This is so big, and I saw this in the news. I want to come back and talk about this more because you're right in the middle of it. And these guys are so in the news that I'd read this last night and this morning and hadn't even brought it up when they were on. And that's the fact that in Roger Stone's case, where he and the president are being sued by Obama's lawyers that he set up when he left office to, quote, try to get Trump out of office, they are suing the president and Infowars.com news reporter Roger Stone, former head of the Trump campaign, 2016, with no evidence saying they're Russian agents, and so they want money. I mean, it's just crazy. And even The Nation said, this is a witch hunt. This has never been done before. Russiagate is devolving into an effort to stigmatize dissent. You scroll down, it shows Roger Stone right there, just putting his hand on his head, how ridiculous this is. Even CNN said this weekend that Trump is right about the FBI and this being a witch hunt. So they're hedging their bets right now as this thing burns down. But that said, the article's on Infowars.com by Dr. Jerome Corsi. Trump is looking at and preparing a pardon of Julian Assange. We told you a month before that it was happening with Arpaio. And now the biggest proof yet from our sources, we can't get into those, is the lawyers yesterday came in, if you just joined us, the president's lawyers on behalf of Roger Stone and the president, and said what Assange did is normal, it's in the domain, you can publish it, it's public interest, even if it was stolen by somebody else, showing where the real president's policy is going with this when he said, I don't care who's got this illegal stuff. It's Hillary doing the crime, whether it's some guy in a basement of the Russians or WikiLeaks, release it. And said, good job, WikiLeaks. So this is amazing. Let's right now get about a 2-minute comment from each of you. I just want you to recap this, Roger Stone and then Dr. Corsi. And we'll put the article up that Corsi wrote for Infowars.com on screen that everybody needs to spread. Here it is. Go ahead.
Roger, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. In my view, this is a landmark development because it has always been perplexing as to why some members of the Trump administration kept insisting that Assange is anything but what he is, a journalist. He is not a Russian asset. WikiLeaks is not a Russian front. Doesn't matter how many times John Brennan and James Clapper want to repeat that lie, just repeating it does not make it true. I was stunned when the entire front line of the Obama NSA, Clapper, Brennan, Rogers, Rice, and these other globalists actually filed a legal brief in my case, reiterating and recycling their same old garbage about how the Russians interfered in our election. No proof, no evidence, just rhetoric, their usual tactic.
They could have they could have added a amicus brief of Tweedledee and Tweedledum or Grimm's fairy tales or other works of fiction.
But it does show you the importance that they put on this case. And Jerry's right. The lawyers for the president and his campaign now arguing that Assange is merely acting as a journalist and there's nothing illegal in his actions does lay the groundwork. Let's be very clear. General Kelly will oppose a pardon for Julian Assange. Rex Tillerson will oppose a pardon. Mr. Pompeo, the head of the CIA, will oppose a pardon. Jeff Sessions will oppose a pardon. Here's the good news. Donald J. Trump is his own man. No one tells Donald Trump what to do, particularly when he sees right and wrong.
All right. Thank you, Roger Stone, Infowars.com reporter. I can't wait for the new intel you get, my friend. Let me finish up with Dr. Corsi as we get Joel Salente of the Trends Journal on with us. Going back to you, Dr. Corsi, just recapping how big this is, because, again, you're the guy that first published and told us of the other pardon. This is what needs to be done. We know they're telling him, sir, I know you're not doing anything wrong, but if we encourage leaking, others will leak inside the government. And then what are you going to do when you've pardoned a leaker? Well, he's not the leaker. He got the info that was leaked. He exposed criminal actions. And so we should point out this is criminal information. This is not missile secrets. If somebody does that, we'll execute them. Once they have their trial. I mean, there's a big difference here. And I think this is something the president must do if he's an honorable man.
Well, and having the attorneys for the president go into federal district court and argue that Julian Assange did nothing wrong. He had a First Amendment right to publish these stolen emails from the DNC. Now, that's on record. That's where the White House statement is. It can't be taken back.
And there's court rulings, the Pentagon Papers as well. This is well known.
Precisely. And in fact, that's right. The president and his lawyers are correct. Now, what Donald Trump, I think, is realizing, why I think this pardon is in the works, is because Assange also has the basis for saying that the Russian collusion was nonsense. Because Assange has said, even within the last 2 days again, that he definitively did not get the emails from Russia. He said over and over again and hinted, it's Seth Rich that got him the emails. And I think that's been proven. But you've got Donald Trump and Julian Assange on the same page, now with Trump's attorneys on December 29th making the argument in a brief filed with the U.S. District Court in Roger Stone's case. And again, this is something Roger and I and Infowars have been pushing since last year. This is a major breakthrough for getting the truth out about this whole Russian collusion nonsense.
It is.
It was an invention, I believe, of John Brennan and the Democratic Party, with the assistance, by the way, of Eric Schmidt and Google. And that's another thing we broke. And, again, we have intelligence not only in our own sources, but it seems to be backing what this QAnon is publishing. And I've been writing about it extensively. I think we've got major intelligence breakthroughs coming through in the background, and we're just seeing
That's right.
the first signs of it.
That's right. So get next week's news today at Infowars.com and Newswars.com. Thank you, Dr. Corsi.